It's the Mils and Kez show.
We're going to
We
have to make
need,
that the official jingle, right?
yeah. Well, we need a jingle. We need a jungle, a jungle. Yeah,
A jingle
yeah,
jungle.
yeah. It's a hot day. My brain is
I know,
fried.
right?
It's
Yeah.
nuts. So yeah, for those who are international, not in Australia, because our reach is getting that far.
Oh, I know, right?
Obviously. Yeah, we're in the midst of a heat wave at the moment, so it's like probably about 40 degrees Celsius outside, not Fahrenheit.
Yes. 40 in
Fahrenheit.
Adelaide today. You're 40 in Melbourne, yeah?
Yeah, we had lots of rain last night too, so it's nice and muggy.
Mm.
Hmm.
Did you? Oh, well, I'm hanging for a bit of rain. Yeah.
Oh, well.
We
Oh,
had
come
this
on over.
weird, we had this weird wind gust come through. It must have been midnight or something. And I
Mhm.
think the trees are so dry, a branch came off a tree and hit one of my neighbour's cars. So the car alarm started blaring at midnight.
Oh, whoops.
Yeah,
Oh,
whoops.
dear. Fun times in suburbia. So,
Yeah.
what is the GO? What's going on with you, Miss Millsy?
Well, I don't know. I'm just got courses I need to finish. I've got books that I need to finish. I feel like I've started. Do you do this? Do you start things and never finish them?
I'm starting to get to the point where actually I'm not starting them even. Like
Ah,
it's really tricky. I think it might be a bit of a manifesting generator thing, like where we feel like, and I'd be interested to hear other energy types as well. Like
yes,
we feel like I feel like I need to be constantly doing things. So like I'm folding laundry while I'm listening to a podcast
yes.
or listening to a like I enrolled in Tony Robbins's 3 day what they call it, time to rise or something
Okay,
challenge that
yes,
he
I
runs
saw
every
that
year.
advertised.
Yeah,
Yes.
and he's awesome. And I've watched like an hour and a half of it at 4 o'clock in the morning when I couldn't go to sleep. And it's like just like things that you got to do. And yeah, it's interesting. Like when you decide to go into business, especially as a woman who, and you've already established yourself as the housekeeper and the general dog's body to run things around, and then you take on something else like your own business that you really want to succeed. I'm finding it very difficult to try and slot that in
Yeah.
to working night duty plus mum duties plus household cleaning duties and everything else that goes with it. So I don't
Right.
know how you're fine because you're still relatively new to this business. So I'd love to
Yes. So
know your
I'm trying to grow my business too. And I also work probably around, what is it, 20 odd hours a week in my day job,
hmm
2 days in the office, but the rest sort of flexi time at home, which is fantastic. But yeah,
Yeah.
I'm finding not enough hours in the day to do all the things I want to get done.
Yeah.
Especially, we've all both of us we've got teenagers. I've got three kids. You've got two kids, teenagers. It's running them to work,
Oh,
getting
crazy running them to
yeah,
work. Like I've only
yeah,
got one that works.
uh-huh.
But yeah, just that if she works on the weekend, it's a half-hour trip there, half-hour trip back, and then
A
again to pick her up.
couple of
So
hours later, yeah,
yeah, because where she is working at the moment, it's not convenient for public transport. Like she would have
yeah.
to catch a train and then she'd either have to walk for 30 minutes to get to where she's going or bus it up there as well. So, and I am not au fait with public transport. I don't trust public transport. I don't like public transport,
Yeah.
all the things. So, yeah, so I'd just much
Well,
rather.
it's the good thing. I don't mind driving because it means that's more podcast time because I actually find I love listening to my because I've got so many podcasts that I subscribe to, including our own. That, even though I know what we said, I still like listening to our own as well. And
Yeah.
and I just find that good. I've got it's almost like like I drive about 40 minutes,
hmm
2 days a week. So you know what's that, an hour and a bit each day, and that's I can fit in like three podcasts a day doing
mm
that. So it's like I don't mind driving because that way
Yeah.
it's almost like good because I don't want to iron and podcast or I don't want to make the beds and podcast. I just want to I don't know, driving and
Yeah.
podcasting feel
Well,
different to me.
driving's second nature now, isn't it? Like you could,
Yes.
I was going to say you could do it with your eyes closed. You probably shouldn't. I wouldn't recommend it. But yeah, it's kind of like you can you can very easily go into theta brainwave, which is
Yes.
that brainwave where everything goes into your subconscious when you're driving. Because sometimes when you're driving, you get home and you think, oh shit, how'd I get here? Like,
Yeah. Yeah. I don't
yeah,
remember
because
the last three
you're drifting.
intersections I went through. I
Yeah.
must have been okay. I know that That's a thing, right? We
Yeah,
all do
yeah,
that, surely. Yes.
yeah, yeah.
Because we're
So it
just
must,
so good that,
absolutely.
yeah,
Well,
I think so too.
interestingly, I was thinking today. So obviously, we are um, big fans of, whether you believe you can or believe you can't, you're
Yes.
right. So I was actually thinking of it today as I'm running around trying to vacuum and fold and do all the things. I'm like, if only I didn't have to go to work, like that would be ideal. Then I thought to myself, what's actually stopping me from not going to work? And it's like, if my business picked up, then I would not have to go to work. So what would need to happen? And basically, all I would need to do is to have two people sign up to my program a month, and that would be it. That's all that needs to happen. But there's that whole believability and that whole self-worth and that whole getting through the beliefs of, money doesn't grow on trees, people don't have the money, da 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 da. But it's bullshit as well, because I had, one client pay in full, which my signature program is $5,555. So paid in full, regular working mum, which was fantastic. And then I started my mastermind as well this year as well. So this is the next level up from my seven. So I've got the Seven Slaves to Life program, which is my signature program, which gets you through all of the seven slaves. If you want to know more about it, people at home, please let me know, and I'm happy to send things on to you and jump on a call if you like. But yeah, that's getting through all of the limiting beliefs, the fears, the things that hold us back, the holding challenge, the holding uncertainty, aligning your beliefs, all of those things. So that's the core signature program. Then for the people who have done that work, I've done like a Diva Mastermind, and that's a year-long subscription service. And for those who paid in full, they get 2 months free. Well, I had probably out of the 9 ladies, I had about 6 or 7 pay in full as well.
Wonderful.
So it's like the belief that I have that women don't have money is bullshit. Like I've just completely disproven it.
Yes.
So it's like if I could have a month like I just had in
Yeah.
January, um, for every month for the rest of the year, I wouldn't have to go to work. So it's like, so I need to get through my glass ceiling and my limiting beliefs that, women don't have money and they are not wanting to buy my thing. So yeah,
Mm.
digging deep in those fears is what is going to, and unlocking it and releasing
Yes,
it
it
is what's
is.
going
Yeah.
to get me through that. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's tricky, and it's every time a thought crosses my mind of like, why isn't that possible? Like a lot of us don't even actually second guess that process. We just think, oh, I just can't, I just have to work, and they would stop it there. But actually
Yeah.
going, hang on, wait a minute. So today's the first time that I've really actually gone, wait a minute, I actually don't need to do this. I actually just need to align my beliefs and make it into knowledge, because you sort of go, I believe this is true. Then once you've got evidence that it's true, then you can say, I know this is true, I know I
Yes.
can do this, and I do have evidence of it now. So watch this space.
Watch this space. That's
What?
beautiful.
Yeah.
Great awareness. And that's something that I think we've all got so much stuff in our subconscious and we
Mm-hmm.
don't even know what it is. We
It's
do
a soup.
not know what's
It's a
in there,
soup.
right?
Subconscious soup. I love that. Let's use that.
Yes. Let's do that.
Subconscious soup.
So of our brain, I think the stats where we only our active brain is only 5%, like
Okay. Our conscious
our
mind, yeah,
conscious brain
5%.
is only 5%, which
Mm-hmm.
means so much. And look, a whole heck of that is to like just breathing, is
Mm-hmm.
moving our limbs, like making the blood flow. Like there's
Mm-hmm.
so much that is just making our bodies do the thing. But
Mm-hmm.
there's an awful shit ton of stuff back there that is the self-limiting beliefs that is holding us back, which is all our shadows, which
Mm-hmm.
we have no idea what it is. But when we get little glimpses of it, like now, you've
Mm-hmm.
just said, I think I must have a self-limiting belief that people don't want, like women don't want to spend the money,
Mm.
because that's probably what you grew up
Mm-hmm.
as being normal.
Yes.
So whatever
Yes.
your normal was growing up, when we
Mm.
formed our brains,
Mm-hmm.
that's what holds us
Yeah.
back. And
Absolutely.
so that you might think that sounds like a completely reasonable statement to say, oh, women don't spend money on themselves,
Mm.
because we are shown time and time again that we're more than happy to drop $200 on the kids' school shoes or whatever it happens to
Yeah,
be.
yeah. Or
And how
like,
often, and we would go 3 years without buying a new bra or something like that. Like
yeah, yeah,
so
yeah.
so that's normal to us.
Mm,
That's quite reasonable.
mm.
But then where was I going to? But it just means that we've got all these beliefs in there that we have no idea about until they just come knocking every now and again.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And the trick is when something that you believe to be true, you'll sort of come across it as like a statement in your mind, as like, yeah, I have to
Yeah.
go to work. And
Yeah.
then the trick is to go, hang on, is that true? Is that actually true? So
Yeah.
instilling that doubt in the belief that you have, because yeah, your beliefs are like a radio station. You can tune into any
Yes.
one that you want, or like
Yes.
a TV, for example, as well. So there are other beliefs playing in the background, but if you're not on that channel, you're not going to see it. You get to choose which channel you want to
Yeah.
go
Turn
onto,
the dial.
and
Yeah.
then align your beliefs, and then back it with your emotions, and then your thoughts, and then with your actions as well.
Right.
So, and it does take a little while for reality to catch up, but you do get there. So now I've got that thought in my head of actually no, I don't need to work. What would life be like? I'm going to start meditating on what life would be like if I didn't have to go to work, if I didn't need to do night duty. What would that mean for me? What would it mean for my energy levels? What would it mean for my kids? What would it mean for our income? What would it mean for my well-being? What would it mean for my husband to have a happier wife? What would it mean for my kids to see? This is how you make your goals really, really big. You chunk it up. What will it give you? What will it allow you to do? What will you be able to give up? What will you be able to take on? What would it give you more of? Like really chunk it up and make it really, really big. And then that gets you excited. So then you back it with emotion, and then you align to it. And then when you've got this in the back of your mind, because here's the thing, our conscious mind, it needs something to do. Otherwise, it's going to go off in all of its sort of, bullshit, negative bias. But like when you give it something to do, go, no, here's the big picture. Remember that. Our brain goes, oh, that's right, we're doing this. So every move you make, every action you take is going to be aligned to that big thing, because you're reminded of what it's going to give you every time.
Yeah. That's spot on. And I was just having a look because I wrote it down.
Mm-hmm.
We are, I think, hang on. We are 17 times more likely to believe a negative thought than a positive thought. We are
Mm.
hardwired to go negative.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a safety thing. That's what keeps us safe.
100%.
So
Yeah.
that
Keep
stops
more
us
people safe.
heading out the cave when there's a tiger around the corner. That's what
Mm-hmm.
keeps us with our tribe.
Yeah.
But we don't live in those times anymore. And
Mm.
that's sort of what I really want to do. That's what I love, is having one-on-ones with people to find that belief, go
Mm.
into the delvies of the soup,
Mm. Yeah.
find where that came from,
Mm.
and update that belief, update
Mm-hmm.
it.
Yeah.
And
We should
then,
actually have done a session on this for this podcast, you busting through my negative
yeah,
limiting belief
well,
about
should we do
me.
that next time?
Yeah, if
Yeah,
I haven't already broken it. I can tell you why though, but
yeah, yeah,
the
yeah,
good thing is once you start doing the work and you start coaching
yeah,
other people, you can quite very well coach yourself as well. But sometimes there are definitely
yes,
blind spots which you are not able to see for yourself.
yes,
So the story that came up for me for when you were, and I'm sure that like there are hundreds of women who, if they listen to this, they're going to resonate with this. We grew up in Adelaide, Salisbury North, sort of very middle class to maybe lower class in the 80s, maybe mid to lower. Money was always an issue, no single income family. But in
yeah,
the 80s, that wasn't, completely over the top. A lot of women stayed at home. God, I'd love to go back to that. But I always remember this story, and it's such a friggin' like, you look at it as an adult and you go, oh my God, Kerry, get over it. But there is this story that I have got that when it comes to money doesn't come easily, you can't afford nice things, etc. There's one story that sticks in my head was, you remember the 80s Cabbage Patch Kids?
yes,
Oh,
right,
I wanted a Cabbage Patch Kid like I it was my only thing that I wanted, Cabbage Patch Kid. You know, some kids at school had even two Cabbage Patch Kids. I couldn't believe how lucky they were. I didn't have any Cabbage Patch Kids. And that was my one dream, my one goal. It was like, I think it was like 1983 or whatever it was. And
Sounds
Cabbage Patch
familiar.
Kids were
I
the
got I
trend.
got one for Christmas when I was like maybe 9 or 10 years old or something like that. I can't remember. Yep.
Lucky you. And so that's all I wanted was this Cabbage Patch Kid. And got to Christmas morning, Cabbage Patch sized box under the Christmas tree. I was beyond excited to open up this present, and I was sure it was going to be a Cabbage Patch Kid. I thought, this is my time. This is my time. The Cabbage Patch Kid is going to be
Oh God,
mine.
what was it?
It's going to be a boy. It was going to be a girl. What is it? And I ripped it open, and it was a funny kid, which was the cheap rip-off version of a Cabbage Patch.
Oh no.
And I was devastated, to say the least.
Oh, you
I
got the
was,
Timu Cabbage Patch Kid.
yeah. So I was
Oh,
like, yeah, Timu Cabbage Patch Kid. Like, and I was just like, oh, and I felt like, thinking
you're
back on it
gutted.
now, the way I felt ill. I felt sick. I was like, this is all I wanted, and I couldn't get it. And
Oh,
my sister was next to me, and she goes, "Do you like your doll? Do you like your doll?" And I went, "Not a Cabbage Patch Kid." And she just looked at me like I was the scum of the earth, like, "Oh, you ungrateful shit!" Like, it's basically what she was looking at me. She's 8 years older than me,
yeah.
and that just sticks in my mind of like, times are always tough,
Yeah.
money's hard to come by, and you're never quite worthy of the Cabbage Patch Kid. So everything in my life, like I'll shop at Kmart when I could have maybe afforded to
Right.
shop at Maya. I'll get the Hyundai instead of
You're
the
only worthy for second best or something like
yeah,
that.
yeah. And
Oh,
that's
okay.
and that's a
Yeah.
story that I created from that one incident. So
Yeah.
every time I think of, money, how hard it is to come by, etc. That's what is the root.
Yeah.
That's implanted in the middle of my brain, deeply seated and rooted in my subconscious mind when it
Yeah.
comes to money. So those things, anything from like birth to 7 years old, they're a little bit more challenging to shift. I'm not going to say they're really hard to shift, but I'm going to say that they're a little bit more challenging to shift, and they're going to take more repetition, like
Yeah.
conscious repetition of no, that's not my story anymore. That's not
Yeah.
my story. My
Yeah.
story is there are women with money out there. There are women who are willing to invest in themselves. There are women who see the value in what it is that I do.
Mm.
They just need to find me. I just need to say the things that are going on in their mind to relate to them, to draw them into me so I can help them. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's that whole shift. But yeah, it's
Beautiful awareness. And I
mm,
feel very much the same in like I I got most of the things I asked for as a kid, but I probably got the cheaper, like the home brand version of stuff. Like I
yeah.
think when I did get a Cabbage Patch Kid, I was like, wow, like I
Mm,
almost it was too good to be true. Like because I did
yeah.
have a flower kid, that was one of the other. There was a few
Oh,
versions
okay.
of the
Yeah.
knockoff, and I
Yeah.
had a flower kid, and it's like, no, it didn't hit the mark for me, and it's like, no, I
Mm.
just really want that,
You
and I
you
did.
needed the Cabbage Patch Kid with
I
the
got
signature
it.
at
I
the
I did
bum
get it
and
in
the
the end, but
yeah.
and I get it now. Like my parents were immigrants and came out here with not a lot. I think they were
Hmm.
the 10-pound poms or whatever. They came
Yeah.
out as newlyweds with not much, and they
Hmm.
did the best they could, like
Yeah.
build a
Yeah.
business and looked after my brother and I. And but I definitely felt the scarcity.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
you got something if it was a special occasion. You don't get it for every day.
Yeah.
Save the
Yeah.
things for good. Like
Mm.
the need to put things away for a special occasion is still very strong
Yeah.
in me.
Yeah.
Whereas,
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, because you
Mm.
don't get your good, and so this movement of life is the special occasion. Get
Yeah.
out the good stuff now. Eat off the good dishes.
Yep.
You
Take
know,
it out of the wrapping and all that sort. It's like what?
yeah. Take the
Yeah.
plastic off the.
Yeah. But I
So
really, yeah, definitely. That
yeah,
yeah, that Cabbage Patch incident was the first of like many that were very much like I grew up like so I originally was born in Adelaide and then went to a small country town from the age of 9 onwards. And the in thing was like shoes from this shop called Sports Lover. Like they had to be like leather sports shoes and it had to be Adidas or Nike or whatever it was at the time. And they had these pants called track and field pants, and every girl had these track and field pants. And of course, we couldn't afford a pair of track and field pants. And yet those were like it just seemed that like whatever was the trend and whatever was going, it just wasn't available to me.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of the things that are coming up for me. And sometimes, and like even though I have expanded my belief systems like exponentially in the last 2 or 3 years from that, sometimes I'll be talking to my mum still, who's still very much in that mindset. Like you're talking about, taking things out of the wrapper and eating off the good china and stuff. God bless my mum. She will buy like prints to put onto the wall, like canvas prints, and still keep the plastic on them. and the little corners
so
to
they don't
keep
get dusty. Yeah.
And it's like, Mum, it was $20 from Cheapest Chips. Like it's good. Like it's okay.
It's okay.
And she changes things around so often anyway. And she puts like Glad wrap over the special guest soap so it doesn't get dust on it and things. It's like, oh, Mum. But that's kind of that's my belief system. That's where it's all come from.
And don't forget, our parents were raised by the generation that went through the Great Depression and stuff.
Exactly. So rationing.
They're only doing what they know.
Exactly. Yeah. No blame or shame on my mum.
Never.
But the thing is, that's the belief system that I inherited, and
yes,
it needs to. And I am working on changing it, but it's interesting. And even when I talk to my mum now and I'm saying, I'm doing this program, I'm running it at $777, and she's like, can people afford that? Like, isn't that a bit much? And it's like, actually, it's grossly underpriced for the value that you get. But so I have to be really protective of my energy around that sort of mindset.
And when it comes to mental health and allowing us to delve into this sort of stuff within our own minds and stuff, like our parents or grandparents, they were just like, shut up and put up. They didn't talk about any of this stuff. So what, you mean you're paying someone to talk about your feelings? What do you mean?
It's coming from a place that is completely, probably a lot of the time, and unbeknownst to them, completely shut off from them because they were just never allowed to express it, because our parents were raised by behavioralists basically, and like if you didn't behave a certain way, it reflected very badly on the parents, so the parents made sure that you behaved because otherwise it would make them look bad. So so a lot of their emotions were shut down, and it just wasn't, when you're thinking about feeding your family, your emotions, like big deal. That's not going to put food on the table, like So
this whole they'll jokingly call it the woke generation or whatever, but I think it's wonderful that we've actually got this empowerment to speak about this and follow through with actually talking about our emotions and our feelings and what's holding us back, because I know the value of it. I know you obviously know the value of it, and we want people to do this work because we know the benefits of it. We're just sort of facilitators.
And I think that it actually segues really well into our scenario that we've got for this week, because I've just had a little quick look through it. For those of you listening along at home, like Milsy and I, we don't actually really look too closely at the scenario. We'll just really click through it and then screenshot it, send it to the other one and go, what do you think of this? Yep. And then we don't really look at it again until we jump on. So
it's fresh. It is fresh.
It is fresh. Yeah.
Because like what we would do with a client, we don't know necessarily, most often not, we don't know what a client will come to us with. We've got to just come up with it. So shall we move on into our scenario?
Please, yes.
Let's do it. All right, I'll read it out. So it's from Anonymous. Love Anonymous. Anonymous is just,
I love Anonymous gives us so much juice.
Sorry, gosh, Anonymous. Okay. My husband and I just spent 3 years trying to have a baby and have finally succeeded with a baby. The baby is nearly 6 months old. My husband gets up every day at 3:30 a.m. to go to work Monday to Friday. During the week, he will stay up till around 11 p.m. to play video games, but won't get up to the baby through the night because he has to work. Then on weekends, when I want some rest and some family time, he is in bed by 6 p.m. as he is tired from his big week. He still won't get up to the baby. I feel like I'm married to a man child. Am I the asshole for expecting some more support and family time or some me time? And for those wondering, I work full time too.
Mhm.
So
Oh, so familiar, isn't it?
we have two full time working parents and a 6-month-old baby. And it sounds like mum is working full time, attending to the baby. And then the husband is so tired that he basically just checks out on the weekend. Is that what you're
Yeah.
getting from
And
this?
and through the day as well, obviously,
Yeah.
because he's staying up at nights and playing video games, which
He's
is
staying up till 11 p.m. to play video games and then gets up at 3:30 a.m. to go to work. So yeah, of course he's exhausted on the weekends too because he's
mm-hmm.
choosing to play video games all night.
Yeah, I'm just
Yeah.
writing down what
Yeah.
I would tackle, how I would tackle that,
Yeah, good.
bit while it's coming up for me. So the
Yeah.
first thing that I would say, congratulations, first and foremost, for having a
Yeah.
baby after 3 years. That is incredible. Um, yeah, so there are quite a few things to this that I would say, and I'm talking from experience as well. So I would be, when my kids were young, I would, of course, be at home through the week with the kids. And then on the weekends, I would do night duty. So then husband would kind of take over. I have to say that I didn't appreciate his contribution as much in hindsight for what he did because he would be at work all week and then his weekends would be gone looking after kids as well, which are his kids and like all that. And he learned to, do things with them and take them with him wherever he went as well. But yeah, we got into an argument one time about me. I really didn't know how to express what it was that I needed back when the kids were really young. And I blamed my husband a lot, like for the problems of the world, basically, and was very passive aggressive around him and sarcastic and pretty, like, I'm surprised he's still with me, to be perfectly honest. I suppose it's probably because I'm so good in bed. I don't
I know.
know. But yeah, I didn't actually, we got into an argument and he said, well, what more do you want me to do? I'm at work 5 days a week and then I have the kids for the other two. He goes, what more do you want from me? And it's like, that's actually a really freaking good point, love. I actually don't know what more I want from you. And what it was is I needed to figure out what I needed for me. So that was the crux of the problem. So yeah, so where I was going with that is that yeah, husband obviously is spending a lot of time at work, like 3:30 in the morning to 11 o'clock at night. That's not giving him a lot of time to rest. But what I would say to that is if he is sitting up that late playing video games, and I remember being a mum and being exhausted, but just sitting up watching TV like this because it's like I just need some me time that doesn't include
You
anything. And
needed
people,
to numb out.
yes, numb
Yes.
out.
Yes.
Now, in
Yes.
saying that, what do you need to numb out from?
Yes.
So I dare say that hubby is staying up because there is actually men go into caves. They don't actually talk about their stuff a lot and they need to be coaxed out of their cave every now and again to talk about things. So what I have found in my marriage, especially the last, probably even just the last 8 months to a year, I used to not ask my husband how his day was because I was scared that he would tell me.
No.
Because he was whinging, like he's a whinger. He's the first to admit he's the whinger ninja. But but the energy that I was giving back was, you're being a freaking whinger and I don't have time for this. I've got enough on my plate. I don't need to enable your whinging by listening to it and giving it an ear. That was my thought process. Then I did my Let's Talk communication program. And what I learned was when you are able to emotionally regulate yourself and you're able to get yourself listened to and validated, that actually helps you to process the emotion and get it off your chest. And that is what I was not allowing my husband to do. So that's why he was always whinging. He was always escalating things to try and get my attention because I wasn't listening to him and validating him and I wasn't getting that need met. So he was escalating it and making it a lot worse than what it was. And I was shutting it down. So like he had an anxious attachment style and I had an avoidant attachment style of like, I don't want to hear about it. But when I actually realized I was avoidant, and I'm not saying that this is the case for this woman, but what I would certainly, what I would certainly put to her is, are you giving husband an opportunity to offload some of that emotional stuff? So are you giving him an opportunity to open up to talk about his day so then he doesn't feel like he has to numb himself out because he hasn't processed anything on video?
Like have a verbal outlet rather
Yeah.
than a physical outlet by gaming or something?
Yeah, or not needing to numb out because often
Yeah,
like Gabor Mate would say, don't tell me about your addiction, tell me about your pain.
yeah.
So what is he thinking? What is he feeling? What's he going through? What stresses does he have? Is there anything that he needs to talk about? And then when you give him the opportunity to do that, then he will give you the opportunity to do the same as well.
Right.
Because in hearing that, you would probably think, oh, well, it's not all about him, what about her? But in that giving, there's that beautiful flow of giving and receiving and being able to both share what's going on with each other. So that would be one of the first things that I would maybe say, and not
Mm-hmm.
saying that this is her fault in any way, shape, or form, but yeah, I would ask him, how was your day? What's going on? Men especially, they have this need to protect and to provide.
Mm-hmm.
And especially if it comes to kids, if the other thing that I would explore as well is how is how is she with him around the baby as well? Because if she's always correcting him, or if she's always you're holding her
Like
wrong, or
nitpicking.
yeah, or you're not doing that right, because that was another thing that I was doing. I was like, you're not doing that right. You're not doing this right. Oh, that you've got too many clothes on her. Oh, she's cold or whatever. When you're nitpicking like that, he's just going to think, you know what? I'm just not going to
It's
like this.
easier not to because
Yeah, because you're
yeah.
making him feel shame. Like he's giving it a go. He's trying his best,
Mm,
and you might be. So I would be interested to see what that side of things were as well, and that
right.
might be why he's a little bit more hands off.
And I'd be interested to know what was his gaming pattern like in the previous
Yeah,
year, 2 years, 5 years. Like, is this his thing or is this
yeah,
new? Like,
yeah.
if it was new, I'd be worried. But if it
Hmm.
was like again for he's escaping something.
Yeah, yeah.
But if this was always the pattern, was there
Hmm.
never a conversation about, well, when baby comes, it'll have, we need to make, I just think there's a lack of communication.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's a very good point. Yeah,
Mm.
what was his pattern before the baby? Because like we don't know. There's not a lot of information in
No.
that. But yeah, is she expecting him to change? And did they have that conversation before baby was born?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because there's that whole, you can't change anyone who doesn't see anything wrong with their behavior, etc.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so that's interesting as well. But being the problem as it is at the moment, if you were her, what would you say and what would you do?
Yeah. That's it. And I've got another wonderful saying here. Hang on. Sorry. I thought I written it down, but I text messages to myself when I'm out and I don't have anything to write on. I text myself. So
Clever.
I know it was one that I came across the other day and I loved it, loved it, loved it. And I had to pull over and text it to
Hmm.
myself. So it's a saying by Jacob N. Broad. He says,
Hmm.
consider how hard it is to change yourself, and then you'll
Hmm.
understand what little chance you have in trying to change others.
Oh, that's powerful, isn't it?
Isn't it? I know I had to pull
Mhm.
over and text that to myself while I was fresh. Consider
Yeah.
how hard it is to change yourself, and you'll
Mm,
understand what little chance you have in trying to change others.
mm.
That was just like pow, 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 because,
That blows your mind.
it does a little
Yeah.
bit because we just think that if we want it enough, someone
Mm,
else will see how much we want something and come to the party and deliver.
yeah. Yeah. No. All
Have
it
you?
actually does,
Oh,
really, if you point it out what they're not doing, all you're doing really is adding shame to them because they
right,
already feel like they're not enough. And then you're
right.
adding to it by saying, you're not doing this for me, you're not being there for me for this, and da da
And
da
then
da.
the resentment comes in. And when you're feeling
Exactly.
resentment, there
Mm,
is no joy. You
mm,
cannot find anything to get joyful about if you're harboring resent for someone.
mm,
So if there's this undertone constantly of resent
yeah.
or second guessing or nitpicking,
Mm,
you will not find joy. And it will be
no.
evident in your body language. It'll be evident in the, instead of saying, hey, honey, how was your day? How was your day, dear?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
everything's has a different tone to it when
Mm-hmm.
there's an underlying
Yeah, my
resentment coming
underlying
through.
resentment. And
Yeah.
yeah, interestingly, like, and especially if you can turn the conversation around, like, I think we had this conversation before about like having a dick comparison contest of who had the tougher day. Like sometimes
Yes.
you get home
Yes.
and be like,
Like
oh, this happened to
like it's
me.
a
Oh, you think,
competition.
yeah, it's, oh, you think that's bad. I'll see your this and I'll raise you that kind of thing. And
Yeah. And I only had 3 hours sleep last night.
yes, exactly. And then you're like, well, whose fault's that? And like, so you can see how the whole scenario plays out. But just because I've got to wrap it up, I will just
Yes.
say that any sort of difficult conversation that you need to have, anything that requires any sort of confrontation, etc., is figure out how you feel about it first,
Mm-hmm.
and then follow that Gottman formula, or that sort of Gottman Simon Sinek
Yes.
hybrid formula, which is I feel whatever it is she feels. So maybe she's feeling resentment. So she could say, I'm feeling hurt and resentment
Mm-hmm.
because you stay up so late playing your video games and you don't help me with the baby.
Mm.
What I need from you is to help me, da 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 da. And that might
Mm.
open up the conversation of, and you can start it with, because men are men, say, I don't say this as a criticism, but I need to tell you how I feel.
Yeah.
Because people can't argue with the way you feel. And then say,
Yes.
I'm feeling hurt and resentment because you're staying up so late playing video games. What I need from you is some help through the night. If you can do like Tuesdays and Thursdays, and I'll do Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, or whatever, and you do one day of the weekend or whatever. So that's what you need from them. And then if
Mm.
you're actually setting a boundary, then just say, what will happen if this continues is, and it's not a threat, it's a boundary.
Mm.
So that's how I play out. If there is any uncomfortable conversation that any of my clients, any of my friends, anyone needs to have, that is my go-to formula. I
Yeah.
feel this because of this. What I need from you is this. And if this continues, this is what will happen. Like that.
Yeah.
Plain.
It's a pretty fail-proof technique, isn't it? It's
It
such a
is.
great one. Yeah.
Mm-hmm,
My
mm-hmm,
take on what I would do if this was
mm-hmm,
me is I'd be saying, can you maybe cut down and have 1 or 2 nights where you're not up till 11 playing games and actually go to bed at a normal time to
mm,
get up at 3:30 so that you're not so exhausted on the weekend so we can actually have some family time. We've wanted this family unit for years and we finally got what we wanted for so long, but I like we're missing it because
mm.
they're not I don't know, like I'd want like a family day out or
Yeah, yeah,
make a family like
yeah.
I would try and ask for a bit of a compromise. So I'm not trying to stop you from
Mm,
gaming because it
mm,
obviously means a lot to him and he needs that processing time or whatever he
mm,
also the secondary gain he's probably getting out of it
mm-hmm.
and see if he can maybe start cutting it back so
Mm,
that he can actually be not so exhausted on the weekend.
yeah.
That's sort of how I tackle it in a way
Mm.
too. But
And I would
um,
actually sort
yeah,
of get her to align with where she is now and what she wants it to be.
yeah.
Sort of align to that first and then have the
Mm,
conversation
mm,
and then sort of make some sort of compromise middle ground as well and be very open to what he has to say about it as well.
yeah.
Because there might be a whole lot of stuff going on for him that we may not even know about.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, it's interesting, but yeah.
But communication, as always, especially husbands and wives, or with your inner circle, whoever that happens to be for you,
Hmm.
it's all about the communication
Yeah.
and doing it in a way that doesn't cause a retraction. Like it needs to
Mm,
be open. Like no
yes.
blame, no blame.
Yeah, no blame, no shame, and
Yeah,
making that very clear. And just because we
yeah,
are so hardwired as kids, we were always looking out for criticism, because when our parents, caregivers were unhappy with us,
Mm.
it would be a retraction of love or a retraction of affection or a
Yes.
retraction of affection. So
Yes.
we are hardwired to listen out for criticism. So every time we get feedback, this is why it's so hard for us to hear feedback when people are trying to help us. We hear it as criticism because
Yes.
we're hardwired for listening out to it. So
Yeah.
yeah, making it really clear that this isn't a criticism of you, but I want you to understand how I feel, and
Yeah.
I want
Make
to
it
understand
be
how you.
her being vulnerable from the
Yeah.
guise of her being vulnerable about it rather
Mm.
than attacking on him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And make it really reciprocal as well, saying, I'm telling you how I feel, and I'd love to hear your take on it. What's
Yeah.
going on for you?
Yeah.
Yeah. And make it a safe place for him to talk about it as well. Don't be ridiculous. I work part-time too. La la la. Like
Yeah.
that. Yeah. Yeah. Just shut
Just
up. We've
listen.
got two
Hold
ears, one
space.
mouth. Yeah.
Listen. Yeah.
Two ears, one mouth. Use it in that ratio.
I love that. Yeah.
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 So yeah, yeah, it's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, this wacky old world we find
I
ourselves.
know.
So cool. All
That's
right, I
good.
better go.
I know
I've got to
you've got to
pick up my
go, but
one son
yeah.
and take him swimming. I've got my bathers on
Oh, good,
already.
good.
That.
Well done. Oh, in the cool of the pool. Well done.
You'll appeal.
Well, I
Excellent.
might go walk the dog on the beach tonight.
Oh, good move. Yeah, Lila's got a
Yeah.
swimming carnival today, so
Oh, nice.
she went in tracksuit pants and a long sleeve top. I said, "You are going to melt." Like, this is a child that, like, it could be 10 degrees outside and she's wearing shorts and a t-shirt.
Oh my
This
gosh.
weather, she's walking around
Gone
in
the
long
opposite.
sleeves. Nuts.
All
Nuts.
right.
She is what
All
she
right.
is. All right, my darling.
We'll
Thank
do
you
this
very
again
much.
next week.
Absolutely. Join
All
us again.
right. Mwah.
Bye
Bye.
bye.